In this video, I'm going to explore some of the components within Microsoft Copilot Studio licensing and how the licensing is structured uh, for you when you build an agent using Microsoft Copilot Studio. Now, before you understand licensing, there are some concepts which you need to understand. So, SKU is stock keeping unit. Messages is basically the measure of time and effort required to retrieve the information and respond to prompts. So, messages involve you sending out a message to the agent and also you're receiving the message from the agent. Now, there are multiple ways of orchestration. We have a classic orchestration, we have a generative orchestration. Similarly, we have a simple response which agent will give you just by referring to the LLMs, or maybe there might be some complex response which might go through multiple processes, multiple tools, and then the agent will give you the response back. Now, for all this, there is a calculation. So, the unit of measure is basically messages. Page pay as you go Azure subscription. So this is like a subscription which is not prepaid. You have to pay it after you consume the messages. Now there are multiple ways of licensing. So one is pay kind of uh, which through which, if you don't know, if you do not anticipate how many messages your agents may consume, then this is the best option to go. So if you know this concept, if you move ahead, we see messages. Now messages are the measure of time and effort required to retrieve the information. So retrieve the information from a data source and respond to prompts or actions taken by an agent. Now, messages are offered via prepaid message pack subscription license. So we have this concept of one message pack is 25,000 message. So depending on your organization need or requirement, you can pick whatever message pack suits best to you. Now, once you take the message pack, now if you anticipate that there may be an overage, or maybe you may consume more messages for that specific month, I would advise you to configure the pay as you go as well, so that once the message reaches the threshold, then you get an option to pick and choose Azure pay as you go subscription, so that your agent will function normally. Now, licensing models, type SKUs. So there are different ways through which you can license your application. Now, here we have Microsoft Copilot Studio. So this is like the primary one is Microsoft Copilot Studio, and then you have pay as you go meter, and then we have M365 Copilot license. Now, within Microsoft Copilot Studio, so this is a message pack subscription. So as I mentioned to you, one message pack is like 25,000 messages. So you pay a certain amount and then you can use that for your multiple environments. Pay as you go, again, it's kind of a billing meter through which you pay it once you consume it. So this is like a post-paid kind of a scheme. M365 Copilot license is basically licensing agents built using M365 Copilot Chat. So this is like a completely different SKU, but you do get limited Copilot Studio user rights when you use M365 Copilot license. I'm going to explain that in the next slide. Now, these are the different SKU which you see in M365 Admin Center. So, Microsoft Copilot Studio Viral Trial, Microsoft Copilot Studio, Microsoft Copilot Studio User License. Now, remember, for every user using the Copilot Studio interface, there has to be a Copilot Studio user license. So, this is a free license that can be assigned to user to grant access to Microsoft Copilot Studio. Now, this is as of the recording in August 2025. This one, Microsoft Copilot Studio, this is what you need to buy. So this is like from Australian dollar 299. So this will give you that one message pack, which is 25,000 message. Now, user type. So we have different user type who will be interacting with the agent. So we have a chat user and we have an agent author. So chat user is basically the user who chats with the agent. So that person requires a Copilot Studio user license. Now, if someone is authoring an agent, you need an agent author. So author who creates and configure the agent. So you get like there is a term called as Copilot Studio author. Now, this is specifically for a pay as you go scenario. So you have a setting within Power Platform Admin Center through which you can select a security group that may use Copilot Studio to author an agent. So this is basically concept. So chat user, agent author. Now, when you share an agent, there are multiple items which you see over here. So there is a viewer role, there is an editor role. Viewer can just chat with the agent. Editor can view, edit, configure, share, publish the agent. Now, if you are an editor, you basically get assigned to various security group, like you're part of environment maker security role, agent transcript viewer, Power Automate user. Now, this is just a concept to understand so that you know there are different type of user base who just interact with the agent or who is involved in while building that agent. Microsoft 365 Copilot license. Now, this is completely a different SKU. So, this has nothing to do with Copilot Studio. But, however, if you are building an agent, it will use something called as a light Copilot Studio interface. You can see the Copilot Studio word while building that agent. And that's why I have covered this over here. So, Microsoft 365 Copilot license agent built using Microsoft 365 products like the Copilot Chat, Teams, SharePoint, you basically get a zero rated usage, because even while building using M365 Copilot, you will use the same concept, right? Like you will send out a message to the agent, you will receive a message back. So, do you need a message back? The answer is no. You don't need a message back or a meter consumption, because that's all covered as a part of M365 Copilot license for classic answers, generative answers, and Microsoft Graph tenant grounding. Now, M365 Copilot license, apart from that, it is basically licensed to include the pages. You can deploy this in M365 apps, teams. You can utilize that within app M365 apps and teams, SharePoint agent, and then you get the agent capabilities for M365 Copilot, Teams, SharePoint, and you get additional things like the analytics and SharePoint Advanced Management. Now, Copilot Studio Message Pack subscription, it will let you build agent on any supported channel. So this is like this is the one which you guys should buy if you have a like say, if you have that predictability that yes, I'm not going to consume more than say X amount of message. So if you think that, oh, your organization will not be able to consume more than 25,000 message, or maybe in multiples of 25K messages, then you go with message pack subscription. Now you get a 25,000 message limit. It will allow you to build agent on any supported channel, connect to any data using the premium connector. You get an option of 25,000 messages, and Copilot Studio capabilities are basically licensed by a message pack unit. So messages are the common currency across Copilot Studio capabilities. Now, if going forward, if you think that your consumption has increased, then you can sign up to pay as you go mechanism as well. Now, pay as you go, this is like a postpaid scheme. So, Copilot Studio Pay as you go meter, it enables you to post pay based on the actual number of messages consumed within a month. So, there's no upfront commitment. So, if you do not have any upfront commitment to pay for only what you use. Again, this also has some sort of a costing mechanism. So, you can do that break even kind of a calculation and then decide whether pay as you go or Copilot Studio license is the right choice for your organization. So the benefit is like scalability. You can scale agent consumption, and also this has a different way of working. So you need to configure Copilot Studio authors role. So you need to select a security group so that that can use Copilot Studio for building agents. Now, important point to consider, Copilot Studio user license is required for each user building and managing agents with Copilot Studio. Now, this is a $0 license as of August 2025, but this is required for any of the user interacting with Copilot Studio. Cloudflows do not consume Copilot Studio message capacity. Cloudflow usage up to 250,000 Power Platform requests per day at the tenant level is included as a part of Copilot Studio Message Pack. So if you're using tools and tools use Power Automate flows, then that consumption is not considered as a part of the message capacity. Now, agents built on Copilot Studio for Teams, SharePoint, and M365, which we have seen in the previous slide decks, are all included with M365 Copilot user license at no additional charge. Now, this is a comparison which I've extracted from the Microsoft documentation. Now, there are three different SKUs. So, Microsoft Copilot Studio Pay as you go meter. Then we have a message pack subscription. And then we have Copilot Studio Use Right with M365 Copilot. Now if you see the comparison in pay as you go, how many messages are included? Pay as you go is like depending on your consumption, but in message pack there is 25,000 message, but in Copilot Studio with M365 it's unlimited. So that's worth noting. Similarly, we have a generative AI. So generative AI capability is available in both the first two options, but then it is limited in M365 Copilot. Create and publish your own agent. So can you publish your agent? Now as you see, Copilot Studio pay as you go and message pack, yes you can publish, but you cannot publish anything using M365 Copilot. It is where it belongs. So if you create an M365 Copilot, yes it belongs there. You cannot publish into different channels. However, you can utilize in different applications like SharePoint or Teams. Create and publish your own agents and plug in to extend M365 Copilot. This is what I was talking about. Yes, you can do that in with the M365 Copilot rights. Now, the output you create over here is in pay as you go, it's your own agent, and again, your own agent. Now, there's no difference over there. Power Automate Cloud flows as actions in agent. So you can use Copilot Studio Message Pack basically to use Power Automate Cloud Flow. So if you have that requirement to build up and call up those tools, Power Automate flows, then this is the best option. And if you see the other options over here, this is all common across share standard Power Platform connectors, premium and custom Power Platform connectors, on premises cloud service data transfer via Power Platform connector. So all these options are available with some conditions in it. What are the different available channels to publish your agent? Now here, as I mentioned to you, you cannot deploy in different channels for M365 Copilot, but here you get different channels like external web, Facebook, WhatsApp, internal channels, Teams, etc. So this is the basic difference. So if you want to build an agent and if you want to deploy into multiple channels, these are a couple of options: pay as you go and message pack. So these are the two major options. The only difference for majority of this thing is you pay it upfront in message pack, and here you pay after you consume. So this is basically the comparison of Copilot Studio licensing type. Now there are some settings within Power Platform Admin Center which I'm going to just walk you through now. So this is copilotstudio.preview.microsoft.com. So this is the interface through which you can build an agent. Now, in my website, I have created a section AI Copilot Studio where I have kept all the important links. So here, there's one link called as Copilot Studio Licensing. So if I click on Copilot Studio Licensing, you'll be able to see the comprehensive guide published by Microsoft. Now, the slide deck which I have just shown you, I've extracted all the contents from the licensing guide. Now, this is for the August 2025. Now, here I can see different ways through which I can license my product. So this is like a comprehensive guide, and as you can see over here, it is a 20-page document, and it will give you a nice comparison detailing about the different SKUs that are available. Now in M365 Admin Center, if you want to check what license you have, you can go to billing and go to licenses, and then in my tenant, I have some set of Copilot Studio licenses. So as you see, I have got Microsoft Copilot Studio Viral Trial. I have got other licenses for Power Platform, Power Apps, Power Automate over here. So if I go into Copilot Studio Viral Trial, I can see I've got different users assigned to it. And then if I want to see subscription detail, I can go to manage subscription details and get all those information over here. So if you see the list over here, so these are the different set of products I can add. So I can go ahead and say maybe add more products. So if I click on add more products, I can see that I have this M365 Copilot is available to order now, and then it will list down other products within the different product categories. I can search for different categories, or maybe I can just type in Copilot. And then once I type in Copilot, I'll be able to see different SKUs that are available within Copilot. So I can see there is Copilot Studio user license, which we talked about. So here, license that can be assigned to users to grant access to Copilot Studio. Then there is Copilot for finance, and now this one is the messaging capacity. So Microsoft Copilot Studio, and it is telling me that you own this, so I already have that. So if I go to details, I can see some more information on how what all things are covered within this Microsoft Copilot Studio. So we have an option Copilot Studio, which looks into the messaging capacity, and then you have pay as you go. Now I can go ahead and manage it in M365 Admin Center. So this is all about how it looks in Microsoft 365 Admin Center. If I go to Power Platform Admin Center, admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com, you will see an option called as licensing. Now, within licensing, you will have Copilot Studio interface over here. So within Copilot Studio, you can view various environments, you can manage the billing plans, and here you can configure the pay as you go messages as well. Now, before I go over here, let me show you under manage, you have something called as tenant settings. Now, here in tenant setting, if I just type in Copilot, here you will see Copilot Studio authors. Now, whenever you're using say pay as you go as a mechanism, you need to select the security group through which you can grant rights so that people can see the security. So you create a security group in the backend, assign users within that security group, and then you will be able to restrict only those users to use Copilot Studio. Now this is one way to add those user within the system. Now, if I go into the licensing part, here, if I go to Copilot Studio, I can manage the billing plan. So if I click on manage a billing plan, I can go ahead and click on new billing plan. And I have an option to either subscribe to Azure subscription or M365 Copilot chat. So if I click on Azure subscription, then I need to name the plan, link with Azure subscription, specific resource group, and then specify what Power Platform products I would like to use. And then my billing plan will be set. So once you set the billing plan, then you can start assigning users in the Copilot Studio authors, and then you can start uh, ask your users to just start provisioning agents. You have an option to manage the message as well. So if I click on manage message, I can configure different environments. So I have different environments over here, and I have for some I have allocated the capacity, and I can also see how many messages are consumed. So if I go into say Girish Prod over here, this is one of the environment. Now I have 25,000 message, but now there is 24,416 based on my consumption for this month. I can say for this specific environment, I just want say maybe 5,000 messages to be used. If it goes beyond that, I get an option. I will say draw from the available capacity in my tenant. So what does this indicate is like if I have 25,000 message that is across all the tenant, I can go ahead and distribute it. Say I can say 5,000 for one tenant environment, 6,000 for another environment, depending on the use cases which I have for a specific environment. Now I can draw from the available capacity in my tenant, or I can say if it exceeds beyond this, then don't draw from available capacity, bill to my pay as you go plan. Now I don't have a billing plan created, that's why I don't see this as a tick box. If I had a billing plan created, it would have ticked over here. Now if there is an overage, then I can track that overage. I can send the notification nearing capacity. So if it is nearing capacity usage of 50%, I will receive an email. So this is how I can configure the tenant. Now I've already configured for Girish Dev, and I say 500 message is what I'm just allocating for this environment, Girish Dev, because I don't want my developer to just consume all the messages what I have. So if it is more, I can request them to draw from the available capacity in my tenant, or I say no, developers will not be able to use Copilot Studio once they consume all the 500 messages. I get a notification at 50%. So this is how I can configure the messages. If you go into the session, this is like an old concept. Again, it will take you to the managed capacity, and it will again take you to that same screen, because now we always use in terms of the capacity. So here you can configure the sessions, and then you can specify how many consumed and how many is available to allocate it. So that's on the similar interface, it's just that this is on basis of the session. Now you can also go ahead and click on manage agents. Now you can also specify that rather than going into a specific environment and configuring, you can restrict it to a specific agent as well. So if I go into say climate agent, or maybe if I go to say global rocket over here, so I can have an option to set the limit. So I can say for this agent, I just want it to be maybe 700 messages and not more than that. I can configure that. I can turn off the usage when the agent consumption reaches 100%, and I can even send out the notification when nearing the capacity usage, and then I'll click on save. So this is how I can configure, and then it will give you the status whether it is within limit, whether it is near limit. Now as you see, this is I have configured 100 message for Teams agent, but it has consumed 83 and it has reached the limit. Now what happens if it reached the limit? I can go ahead and set the limit, and it says turn off agent when the consumption reaches 100%. So this is at a danger level. So if it reaches 100, this agent will be turned off. So that's it, folks. These are the different uh, licensing related information uh, related to Copilot Studio. Thanks for watching.